Okay, and we're live. Okay, welcome everyone to another session of DC Adventures Midnight City. And we're gonna pick it up right where we left off last time, where after taking care of the giant kaiju monster that was attacking Midnight City, the player characters wound up in a little bit of a separate places where Geist and Mr. Brick were left at the scene where adoring masses of fans and onlookers were just kind of enthralled in this kind of hysteria of witnessing superheroes doing superhero stuff and that sort of thing, while Liam kind of exited the scene by creating this disc that he levitated on and left for the Forge, the headquarters of the Long Swords. So that's located underneath the mansion where you guys keep your home basically at this time. So with that, I think we're going to start with Mr. Brick and Geist being there in the middle of the city, because you guys were kind of left there in the middle of it all, kind of just soaking it in, and having all kinds of whatever thoughts were racing through your heads when you were faced with this kind of morbid adoration, especially with the kaiju kind of turning out to be who he turned out to be. At least Mr. Brick being privy to that information, having seen the comic book in its hands, and you're there, you're Mr. Brick and Geist both on ground level there with the creature's dead carcass behind you, with all those brain fluids and blood and all that gore kind of like just having washed through the streets. Mr. Brick having grown in stature as a result of these experiences, as even taller and even bulkier of a creature that he from what he used to be. And Geist having lost his mask, unless I can't remember if Geist somehow put it back or something, or if he's displaying his horribly disfigured face.
No, his face is fully displayed now, in all of its disfigured glory. And he looks around behind him as his feet make a slight slush noise. He notices the gore beneath his feet, and then notices how it's painted the sides of the buildings around him. Had this been in color, it all would be in crimson and browns and various sorts of viscous colors common to the organisms on this world. But it is in black and white, and like tar, the sides of the buildings are now stained with it, bits of it glooping over the sides of windows, bits of flesh and organs sliding off. Truly a massacre to behold. He takes it in as his breath draws in with a slight wheeze. He turns wide-eyed at the audience before him. There are flashbacks, moments where he has thinking of his old glory days as that mysterious man known as Captain Phantom. And for a moment, he feels like he's done something righteous and worthy. But the flood of the circumstance begins to flood over his mind and wash away that glorious moment. And now, his hand slowly reaches up and begins to touch his face, noticing the mask that is now gone. And from there, he averts his gaze from the crowd and begins to walk, taking his hood up over his head and walking towards Mr. Brick at a slow pace, his feet sloshing and pitter-pattering through the pooling thick blood of this slain creature.
Mr. Brick, covered in viscera, just dripping with tendrils of brain matter and blood, and whatever other materials are inside the brain. Stands not far away from Captain Phantom as he spins around. He sees him real close to him. His face is, he's just addressed the crowd and told them that the long swords are there to protect them now. And that, he's called to Liam, who has not come. But that's in the back of his mind as, once again, he can't help but his eyes keep darting down to his right hand. The hand where he clasps the comic book that he had held that he had given to a small child that he had rescued, a mother and child, and still not quite wanting to accept the fact that this massive creature that they've just killed is that child, but at the same time knowing it has left him in a state of just a fugue state of not really reacting to anything, and just standing there. He hears the footsteps of Captain Phantom coming towards him, and you see that Mr. Brick kind of reaches up and kind of pulls his mask that now doesn't quite fit his face anymore. He kind of just rips it off, standing there barefaced for the world to see as he stares directly into your face. Not a twinkle of recognition, but there's a slight, in all the anger and upset and fury that he's feeling, his mouth twinges up in like almost a slight smirk, and he faces Geist, Captain Phantom, and says, "It is good to see you, Captain Phantom, finally."
His eyes go wide for a moment, but silently they fade back, and he looks up at him with a heavy smirk of his own. "I wish it was good to be back, but it's not." He looks you up and down, scratches his chin a bit, rubbing his face, and then looks back up to you. "You look handsome."
Mr. Brick's massive eyebrow kind of goes up. The right one goes up as he looks at him quizzically. That sort of Vulcan eye look. He's like, "Thank you. I feel I'm covered in stuff." And he kind of looks down, and now he's actually noticing, Mr. Brick hadn't noticed prior, is that he's different. His skin is different. There are changes within his face where when he has grown to this new height of, just under 8 feet tall, his body stretched and almost ripped, leaving this almost chitinous shell-like substance around his entire body, where he has smoothness in between each of the plates that are there now, which all come out as kind of a dark red, a dark black, surrounded by gray. And even his facial features have somewhat muted. They're not that bulbous, rock-like, parts. They're now more of a smoothed-out version with little kind of like almost like armor plates built into it. Picture almost like a robot, the way their face would be manufactured if they had like solid steel and how it would move. Those would be the cracks that generate all over his face. Of course, Mr. Brick can't see that, but he can see his hands and his arms, and he looks out. He's like, "I'm different. How did this happen?"
"You've changed. Something inside of you changed. I've seen this happen before. Sometimes a power evolves within you."
Mr. Brick kind of nods. Flexing his left arm and his right arm, and kind of just tightening up his entire body. "I feel the same, but stronger." I can't. It's hard to explain. When Liam and I leaped, I leapt so far. I've never jumped that far before.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised what you can do if you put your mind to it. And you'll notice that as he's talking, his face looks tired. Like, he looks sickly. This scarred face of his that's of a great pale countenance. Just very sickly looking.
Should, you can see a look of concern come over at Mr. Brick, and he says, Captain Phantom, should we go back? You look tired. Or should we get Manny? Or follow Liam, who's taken off?
He looks up at you. Let's go get Manny first. And also, Mr. Brick, please refer to me as Geist. Captain Phantom is dead. And he turns it.
Geist.
That's the thunder in the background.
And, as that thunder happens, the little flashes of light from that lightning preceding the thunder occurs. We see Geist walking right past Mr. Brick, and as he does, you can hear the pitter-patter of his boots up against the sloshing mess before and around them. And with each step, it gets a little bit lighter, and he begins to slowly begin to walk upwards into the air before his feet are now airborne. And he begins lifting off slowly into the air, gradually, making sure that Mr. Brick is going to at least follow behind at some point as he takes off back to retrieve Manny.
What about Liam in terms of you two guys? I mean, Mr. Brick did call out to him, but there was no answer. So does it occur to you guys that, that you're just going to go and Liam will most likely follow automatically, or do you kind of pay attention to the fact that Liam doesn't seem to be around at this point? Also, ever since you guys were put together, there hasn't been, nobody has just gone their own way before, so it's not something that's common to you guys, especially while you're on a mission like you've been now.
Well, as Geist begins to take off, begins to look around, and he begins to look for Liam, notices that he is not there, and again, he begins to breathe heavily. Every breath, a cold bit of air and smoke out of his mouth. As he does so, he's looking around. He can't seem to find him. And before that, he comes right back down to the ground, hovering at eye level with Mr. Brick. And as he does, he looks you in the eye and goes, "It appears that Liam is gone. I don't know where he is."
Mr. Brick looks up, passively looking up into the sky, that kind of almost as if he's thinking, but at the same time scanning for any sign of Liam. It doesn't surprise me. He was having trouble when we were at the other place, when you took off to scout the area. It took some convincing to get him to come with us. I don't know why, but I feel maybe he really wants to be alone.
That may very well be the case, Mr. Brick. Well, he never seemed to really want to be here in the first place. I don't blame him. This kind of business isn't for everyone.
Geist, he also mentioned something about he was making a deal with the lady that we work for. And he said something about Yes, and he said something about our mother, his mother being held in a prison or something. Was he forced to work for us? Work with us?
We don't have enough data to make that assumption, Mr. Brick.
Well,
So
if that is the case, then there's going to be words to be had with her.
I would think so. But one thing at a time, Mr. Brick. We got a man down in enemy territory, and we have another one missing. I think Liam can take care of himself for the time being. I don't know about Manny.
Okay, I'll meet you there then.
All right.
Well,
And of
that,
course, he'll Geist will look at his communicator and tap upon it and go, Liam, do you read?
If you want to, Roger, he can, but most likely by that time when you hear the communicator, you would be already having arrived at the mansion.
Yeah, Liam has turned his communicator off, so I don't know if he can tell that the fact that it was off, or that the message never received, or that he might just not respond.
I don't think there's any difference because it's just like a two-way streak. There's no sound effects or anything coming off of it or anything. So it's the same as if he wasn't answering it, pretty much.
So after a while of Geist trying, he stops and just kind of nods to himself. All right, Mr. Brick, I'll meet you over there. And with that, he takes off to the sky and flies forward, leaving behind trails of wispy gray smoke as he moves along in the sky.
Mr. Brick, getting ready to jump almost like right away, right after Captain stops and turns back to the crowd and kind of raises his hand high and says, "The long swords are now protecting the city. We will always be there if you need us." And with that, he turns and then just leaps as far as he possibly can.
Yeah, and with both of you basically Geist going through the air and just flying through the air, and Mr. Brick leaping through the air, both of you go above this massive crowd who are basically cheering and being all ecstatic and all that, with the same time as cops are basically at this point trying to kind of manage the situation with just move back, kind of shoving with their guns, not quite opening rubber bullet fire or anything like that, but still there's kind of this stay back, this kind of thing. But yeah, you guys fly off, and we'll turn to Liam now. Liam basically hovering on that disc on his way to the mansion. Is there anything that you want to mention about what's perhaps going through Liam's head or anything of the sort before you arrive?
Well, I think I already mentioned something about it last time, but
Right.
he's running his runic stones through his hands, probably noticing that there's a different energy coming from them as it did before. And he's just focused, ready to get what he was promised and get it now. He's had enough, and it's time to collect.
Okay. Well, as you glide through the night sky, basically of Midnight City, with making a noticeable difference that there's no longer, you don't hear any more crows crowing or anything of that, since all the birds basically dropped dead when the kind of cataclysm shift happened with the dome last session. And you do notice when you glide by that you notice corpses of birds on their back with their feet stuck up, here and there, all around. Usually under trees and stuff, there's a bunch. And as you glide there, something that, after seeing all those dead birds, something that kind of catches your eye is that before you even, just as you catch the glowing lights of the mansion itself coming from its windows, you notice that amongst those lights there's also a light of two circular lights, which are roughly the size and shape of a familiar eagle owl. And as you arrive close enough to see, you see that on top of one of the gargoyle statues on the fence of the mansion, on top of one of them, right on your path, basically, is the same eagle owl that you've been seeing earlier before, and it's just standing there and looking straight at you with nothing out of the ordinary besides that.
I look at it and kind of wave at it, like kind of sardonically, just like hi, and just kind of landing there and kind of stepping off the disc and heading into the mansion.
Okay. Well, you see that the eagle owl's head turns, all the way around to follow you at your moves as you walk in. And as you enter through the front doors of the building, there's the mansion part of it that's above ground. That's it has what's been described before. The upper floor has all the basically the rooms where people stay in and have their own like living quarters, and downstairs there's dining quarters, kitchens, and all these kind of different these kind of fireplace rooms and that sort of thing. It's not a gigantic mansion, but it's enough of a mansion where it's a mansion.
We don't have any, besides Manny, we don't have any personnel around here, right? Like,
yeah, that's right. It's the whole place is swirling with magic. The gargoyles keep unwanted people away, or at least that's the kind of vibe that they kind of emit. And the place stays clean. The food stays fresh in the fridge and that sort of stuff. And it's all magic. It's all remnants of the of Plate Mancer, his little tricks and stuff.
Liam kind of gets in and pulls out a fistful of runes and kind of starts to drop one after the other, kind of looking at them and kind of dropping them very casually, looking for the right one. And he then kind of, when he finds it, he kind of flips it up in the air, and it kind of swirls around, and it kind of lands on the ground, on the wooden ground, and kind of points in a direction. It will probably, if Tanya is in this building, it will probably point at her. Is she in the building?
Yeah, she is. She is in the forge, in the base. There's the basement door that has those stairs that lead down to basically. If I remember correctly, there were only two chambers in the. I think there was the chamber that was the magic place that the stairs led to, if I remember correctly, where there's the reflecting pool and all the statues and stuff. And then there was another door that led through a corridor into the more hangar bay kind of a room where there's the supercomputers and the place for the Black Cat to land and all that. Mm-hmm. So, it's pointing to the direction where Tanya Vasilievich is most likely in there.
Well, Liam will walk forward, and as he does, the rune kind of moves in front of him, laying on the ground, kind of sliding over the ground, and kind of adjusting its angle to him, kind of leading him towards her. And he's just casually walking towards her, and again, kind of dropping runes into his other hand, and again, apparently looking for one.
Okay, so you can basically set like map points and stuff, and it's like your compass, kind of like the person you need to meet is this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, there you go. Do you go straight through the door to the basement and stuff? Or
Yeah.
do you go like yeah? Okay.
Yeah, the rune kind of tick 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 falls down the stairs as he walks down it.
Yeah, you will have to like when you go up the stairs, it'll have to like somehow flip itself like a spring or something or whatever. But yeah, you go down the stairs and it flicks in front of you like you described, and the door leading first into the chamber where there's the reflecting pool and stuff. When you enter that place with through the stairs and stuff, the place feels very different from before. Like you've been here before. You've on I think on 2 occasions you've attempted to communicate with the reflecting pool, and getting the kind of history of it. Like it's showed you visions of how the plate mancer people from the planet of Camelot first came into contact with this entity and all that stuff. You saw visions of that, but now that you enter this place, having experienced the kind of cataclysm that happened in the last session with you seeing the visions for a microsecond of you being basically engulfed by the reflecting pool in this kind of fetal form, protecting you from some sort of monsters with sharp teeth and bright red eyes around it. Entering this place, you almost feel like it's almost like there's this kind of invisible steam of magic energy flowing from it. It's almost like it's the essence of this being that's in the reflecting pool is no longer tied to just the reflecting pool, but that its essence is in one form or another felt in every inch of this room itself in some sort of airborne form. And it doesn't seem like it's changed in any way. It just seems that like you've changed to the point where your senses to magical things are more acute and kind of like sharp, and it feels very much in this kind of like if you would move your arm, this kind of with kind of this magical mist or something of that, something or other.
As I more or less enter the mist and I feel the presence of this reflecting pool, it kind of relaxes Liam for a moment, almost too much, because he wants to stay angry and he wants to stay focused, and he kind of looks at the pool in the distance, and he says, he doesn't say it out loud, but he thinks for a moment, I'll be with you soon, baby. And he kind of just walks on and just inhales the magical essence and feels strengthened by it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm expecting you to go to the door that leads to the second chamber where the runestone is showing you that Tanya Vasilievich is. Okay. Well, as you go through the door, there's the corridor. I believe I remember correctly that the walls were covered in like this medieval tapestry and stuff. Mostly just decorative stuff about the kind of mythical legends from the planet Camelot and all these kind of things with a KH and all these kind of things. All sorts of mechanical dragons and UFOs and whatnot, fighting against Teutonic knights with lightning coming out of their fingers and stuff like that. Whatever goes on that planet. But yeah, as you walk forward on the corridor and you see the stone going in front of you, there's the door in front of you that leads to the second chamber where it shows that Tanya Vasilievich is located.
Mm-hmm. I continue to walk and again looking around me as I always do when I walk through this hall. Well, always, I haven't been here that long, but as I do when I walk through this hall, I kind of taking in the bizarre and accepting it for what it is. That it's starting to become a reminder for Liam that there is so much more, and there's so much he doesn't know yet, and there's so much that still to explore and to learn. And this place is, in his opinion, becoming a very temporary cage for him to grow and become strong and finally break out.
I hear you. Having getting a taste of the extraplanar stuff, one can't help but get curious.
Yep.
But yeah, there you go. Do you just go through the door?
Yeah. He kind of walks onwards, very. He walks in a very determined pattern,
Okay.
like he knows what he's going, and he knows what he's gonna, and his mind is set.
Okay. Well, there you go. You open the door, and you see that there's the empty space. You haven't been in this hangar before with not having the black cat be there, because every time it's been there if you've been there and all that. So it seems like much more of an open space than it has earlier felt like it was, with this large. Both of the chambers are basically circular. There's no edges on the walls there, and basically in the front, there's in the middle, there's just this long vast space with all these kind of gurneys and cases for tools, and all these kind of welding equipment and all sorts of gear work and stuff. And on the wall there, basically when you enter, it's right in front of you. There's the big wall where there's this kind of bat cave like computer setup, where there's this very overdone computer chair for someone with all sorts of like panels on the handles and stuff, and there's like one single huge screen, and then there's multiple small screens with like necks where you can pull the screens to different directions and stuff, and the neck will just extend kind of thing. And yeah, there's Tanya Vasilievich, with a sitting on the chair, with her back basically to you, with a headset, and you can see that on all the screens there's stuff going on. There's a screen with a radar of the entire city. There's screens that have like live footage from those surveillance drones. There's a screen with all sorts of like newspaper article stuff and all that, and you hear constant like keyboard sounds. And as soon as you open the door, unless you do it like very silently, if you walk in with a purpose, kind of she will immediately.
Both doors, if it is a double door, it's kind of flung open.
Okay, she immediately turns in her chair to look into your direction with her hand basically on the headphone, and she turns to you and says, I'll be a minute, and takes the headphones off and kind of looks at you with this questioning look and just says, Liam?
He's got a rune clasped in his hand, kind of squeezing it, and says, I don't know how much pool you have, but it might be a little more than a minute.
How do you mean?
I'm here to collect.
What? Wait, what? You're here to collect? You mean that you expect me to be able to give already?
Yeah.
Liam, hold on a second. She goes to another keyboard and drags onto one of the screens, like newspaper articles with pictures and stuff. And she pulls the screen closer, and she says, "You see this guy here? He's wait. I'll have to. brainstorm a name. He's this is Jeff Johnson. He was the chief prosecutor in your mother's case, and as it happens, that case was such a big deal that it worked as a political launching pad for Mr. Jeff Jones here. And as it turns out, he is currently the chief advisor of New Jersey's governor. And the position is high enough where I've had to prioritize our situation. It hasn't taken a back seat. Your mother has not taken a back seat to any of the other dealings that I have going on here, but the reality of her situation has kind of been boiled down to a couple of alternatives to getting her to walk free. The case and the people involved in the case are such high-profile people, and there's such political backing now behind its main prosecutor that it's not as simple. Throwing money at it won't work like I originally thought it was going to work. I thought I could pull strings and get simply financing to the point where I could bribe people and pay the necessary bails to get your mother to walk free. And now it seems that with someone's extensive political career now being based off of that case, it seems like there's no possibility of just giving enough money to make it happen. I've narrowed it down to basically two scenarios of how we can get your mother to walk free. And I've been trying to trim these into more satisfactory results before approaching you about it. But now that you're here, it's basically boiled down to this. Either we're going to go for the long haul or the quick, decisive way of handling it. The quick and decisive way of handling it is, without trying to sugarcoat it, we will have to break her out. She is a white-collar criminal. She's not in a maximum security penitentiary. It is not too far-fetched to organize a breakout for her, organize a new identity for her, and shipping her basically to the middle of nowhere where she won't be recognized and won't be a problem. Somewhere in Asia or Russia or something like that, but she's way too high profile here. She's basically as recognizable as any superstar on TV. The case was made such a media blitz out of that she's basically a celebrity when it comes to criminals. The other way is to go for the long haul of basically forging documents, bribing people, intimidating people, extorting people to give false testimonies in court, and try and get her cleared in the political process through any dirty means we can get our hands on. But that's something that'll take years upon years, maybe even 10 years to get pulled through. So the end results of what I've been managed to gather at this point, because of the circumstances, is that either she's gonna have to wait for a long time to get her name cleared, or she will not have to wait for that long of a time and disappear. And at this point, I'm going to throw the ball into your court, and especially following the situation we've been in, having the minimal visual into what happened in downtown with that giant creature, being as desperate as possibly we could be for powers such as yours to be in our service. Like, you tell me what to do. You tell me what you want me to use my influence for when it comes to your mother.
Tanya, Tanya, Tanya. We made a deal. You and I. You offered me something. You created an expectation. You didn't manage it. No, 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 no. You didn't manage it. You told me you get my mom out.
Yes, that's still an
I, I,
option.
I'm not done talking. You told me you'd get my mom out. You made me risk my life on numerous occasions. Not in the minest of in the least by the really bad people you have working for you. I mean, Manny? Holy shit. What is wrong with that guy? And now you need me to kill this guy? A, I don't know, gazillion feet monster that's crashing the city? I'm risking my life. Constantly. I'm not bulletproof like Mr. Brick. Bullets don't pass through me like Geist. One bullet to the head and I'm gone. I would be here assisting you. It's like, why are you sitting behind this fucking computer, typing away, not risking anything, and me risking everything? You made me believe you could get my mom out quick and clean. Now you throw the ball back to me with two options I can't live with. Either my mom is broken out and is living like a criminal on the run from the law for the rest of her life, or it's going to take at least 10 years. Have you seen what I'm capable of doing? Have you been able to see what I'm capable of? Don't you think I could break her out myself? Don't you
Not in the
think I would
slightest.
need someone like you?
Yes, absolutely. And no, not in the slightest. No one can leave the city, and your mother is not imprisoned in the city.
Don't you think I know that? I can get out if I wanted to.
What are you talking about?
I can get out if I wanted to. So, are you going to make good on your promise? Are you going to get my mom out within 24 hours? Free, not having to run, being able to live here in the United States. Think
I don't think
very
you,
carefully of your answer.
we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a we are surrounded by consequences and surroundings that are beyond our control. There is no possibility of breaking her out without there being a high profile behind her. Her reputation is something that is out of anyone's control. It's basically it's like a natural force out there in the conscious of the public. You can't just wish things into being. I don't have that kind of power. What I have is influence, contacts to resources. I have strings to pull, but I'm not omnipotent. It's not a magic trick that I do. These are basically the outlines of what we have to work with. What's this about you being able to leave? Where did you come by this idea?
Filtering to your bullshit, I'm hearing a no. Is this a no?
You're basically asking me for what? You're asking me to do something impossible?
You promised me something.
And I'm working as hard as I can to achieve it. But it's I didn't give you a deadline if that's what you're going for.
No, you didn't. You're right. That's my bad. I thought you would work quickly. So I'm giving you a deadline now.
I would like to say that I don't know what you're going for with this, but I still have trouble thinking what you have to fall back on. If you're going to threaten my life with your powers, that's nothing new for me. But if you think that there's an alternative, I just think you're deluding yourself. If you think there's an alternative to basically the realities of what her case is entangled with recognition, political influence, and all that. If you think you can just wish that away and just have her freed the way you would like her to be freed in some sort of a fantasy in your head, that's not going to happen. It's I don't know what if you're I don't see there being an alternative for you. Basically, there are restrictions in the fabric of reality here. There's restrictions on how your mother can live the rest of her life being a notorious white-collar criminal that she is by reputation, at least. And there's limitations to what you can do. Basically, I don't. If you can leave the city, I don't know if by moral standards I could stand on anyone's way if they have the ability to release themselves from this hellhole. But I was at least under the impression that if you're going to have to spend the rest of your life in here, at least most people would want to improve it, to not have to look over their shoulders to wait for that one single bullet to come in their head to end it all. If you have the ability to leave this place, I don't see why you're still standing here. I don't see how anyone sane would.
I'm hearing no. Yeah, definitely a no.
Yeah, because you want to hear a no.
No. I want to hear a yes, Liam. 24 hours and she's out.
So you want to hear lies and fantasies?
No. I want you to fulfill your promise. And not give me two options that aren't worth shit to me.
Or what? What are you going to do?
Never really thought of it that far. I thought you'd be open to reason.
You're not speaking a reason. You're speaking fantasy. It's like if I told you I could make the sun go out, and now you're expecting me to be able to actually do so. I will be able to get your mother free, but if you thought for a second that it would be in this kind of a fantasy scenario that you have in your head, you're delusional about it.
So you're saying that this world has limitations. I kind of look around. Really? Have you seen what Liam, what me and the others have been doing out there?
As much as my surveillance drones have been privy to my eyes.
And still you say there's limitations. There must be others like us out there.
Yes, surely there are. Loads and loads.
There you go. God damn it. Why do I have to think of all this shit myself? You have somebody go over there, take on the form of my mom, I don't know, either by magic or by being a weird freak or kind of plastic surgery. You place them in there, they take my mom's position, and she comes out.
And you think and you would have her be altered as well to
I
not
don't
be
know.
recognizable as your mother then?
Have her paint her hair, whatever, have her do some Botox or something.
I see. Well, that is an avenue we will go for then, but 24 hours is hardly a time frame I'll be able to promise you, because there aren't that many webways and connections and group affiliations too much these days. After this whole superhero thing became a sideshow reality TV thing, we started to be.
How long?
I won't be able to promise you a time frame, because I'll be working from a completely clean table to get this done.
Why do I have to think of the shit? You're the specialist here.
Well, you're obsessed with minutia and promises. If I promise you a time frame, it'll be a friggin' rope on my neck all throughout this whole time. I have no idea how fast I'll be able to do this.
So what? Until that time, you expect me to risk my life constantly?
I expect you to do what you see is right. I was simply expecting you, perhaps ill-founded expectation, to have someone who has the power of your caliber to basically want to use it for something useful, I guess. To have common decency and sympathy for your fellow man walking down the streets when...
Well, they're shooting shit at me?
I've told your entire group why we're exactly doing this. Because if we don't do this, somebody else will do this, and that else is the government's sent panzer battalions here. The North Side is constantly trying to get military forces in here to basically bulldoze and destroy every site of the gangs that are rampaging across the streets, basically bringing with them Armageddon into this place. And I have to work around the clock to try and block and hack their attempts at contacting the people who would make that happen. The reaction that I just witnessed on these security drones, if you can see, and I'm sure you were still there before coming here, you can see the reaction of the people when the long swords came to the rescue and killed this giant monster creature in the middle of the town, saving the city. People are ecstatic. There's actual, if you can call this group heroes again, and that's the only thing that's keeping this place from being leveled to the ground. And I'm not looking for my city to be leveled to dust. And if you're willing to just stand back and see basically the world burn, then I have no use for you.
How long? Give me a time frame. I won't work without a time frame.
You can see her mouth moving as she's and her eyes kind of flickering as she's kind of like going through different names in her head, kind of. "48 hours. Give me 48 hours, and I'll do my best to see it through."
There you go. Was this so hard?
So what do you plan to do in the meantime?
He kind of sticks his runic stone back into his pocket. I'm gonna be the perfect Boy Scout. I'm just gonna see what Mr. Brick and Geist are up, and I'm gonna do whatever I can. He kind of salutes her to help them and make this place a better place. You got my word on it. 48 hours and we'll talk again. You're the best. I kind of turn around and walk off.
And you can just see her like, just behind you, just lay her head into her hands, and you can hear the chair just going back to the computer and hear the sounds as you walk out of the room. Are you gonna go to the other chamber or somewhere else?
Yeah, I kind of turn on my communicator and say, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Okay. Before we get to that, because there's time skippage.
Yep.
We'll go to Geist and Mr. Brick, but first I will have to do some business.
Oh man.
And in the meantime, we zoom in onto the streets. As the crowd is cheering and moving about, we go to the more lowly corners of the city, where we see two bums walking alongside each other. One of them turns to the other and says, "Hey, Frank, what did you, who was it that you said that you was wanting to see win there in the last night's game right there?" "I done told you. But I wanted to see the Rabbits win this year, and it's been 20 seasons and they haven't won a single game right there. It'd be good to see if they get something. They get something right there. Well, I tell you, Frank, them some bitches ain't never gonna win. They ain't never gonna win now. They ain't never gonna win ever. You're always choosing losing teams and a losing faction. That's why you ain't got no money. That's why you ain't got no job. You see, if you just follow my lead," and all of a sudden Frank explodes with violent anger, grabbing the other man named Bill by the shoulders and slamming him up against the wall. "Who the fuck are you to tell me that I ain't got no fucking life or job, you motherfucker?" And all of a sudden violence breaks out as the two men begin brawling on the streets, and which then breaks out upon the road, which then a truck driver driving the truck, but then begins to crash right into the both of them, swerving, nearly hitting the two men, but then crashes into a gun store where mobs of delinquents begin to rob the place and grab the guns. There is gunfire and violence abound as we move back to the main action.
Right on. There you go.
You go, Phil, man.
Excellent. Okay, so Geist and Mr. Brick, after having leapt and flown through the air to go back to basically, are you guys heading straight to where the Black Cat was last parked, or?
Yeah, I'll be heading right to where the Black Cat was last parked. I can't foresee Manny getting too far from his baby.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as you fly through the air, both of you will see. Well, actually, I will have you make a roll. Make a perception roll. No, there's not a literal Black Cat, but basically, as you're airborne, because when you're airborne, there's quite a vast, horizon to full of details to spot. Oh yeah, the actual Black Cat is there on Roger's window. Yeah. But yeah, once you're airborne and you're seeing all those little details in the air, there's a lot of stuff to miss. So yeah, make that roll to see if you spot something.
Perception?
Yeah, perception and was there a skill based on? Well, basically just whatever it. No, perception is skill. Yeah. Awareness is the attribute.
Yeah, awareness, right? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So I got an 18 right. Well, 18 total. 14 plus 4 is 18.
18
in
total.
So we're using awareness only then?
No. Perception is just. Yeah, I got mixed up with the terms because different games have different words for different skills and stuff. So.
All right, so that's let's see here. 23.
How much? 21?
23.
23. Okay. Well, you see it clearly. Mr. Brick sees it, but not as clearly. Let's say Mr. Brick sees that in the sky because the basically the horizon with the dome and everything is so black, and all the buildings are this gray concrete and all that. Something that's completely white kind of sticks from the distance, even though it's quite a small little dot there. But Mr. Brick sees that there's something very bright white flying in the air. How far away from you, I might say it is. Well, it's far enough to where it's like just a little dot there in the distance. You just see that there's something, a bright white dot kind of flying in the distance, and Geist makes out what this little dot is, and you see that it has wings, and it's from this distance it's roughly human size. There's someone with bright white wings flying in the air, far away from you but in the same direction. And Geist, being familiar with the gangs of this city, you have an idea who that might be, but it might be, if you're correct, it might be Archangel, the leader of the National Christian Army, the splinter group of Ghost Division. There's a vast history of Ghost Division having splinter groups based on ethnicity and religion that splintered off from it and formed the National Christian Army, the NCA, which has as its helm basically a religious leader who has whose powers you haven't been able to basically pinpoint completely, but you do know that he has this large cape that has very much the appearance of wings, of these kind of angelic wings, from which most likely he derives his name as well. But you've never met him, you've never seen him from close proximity or something. You more know of him.
So as we're flying, having just dealt with one disaster after another, he could feel the wear and tear on his body a bit, as his breath wheezes from the rush of air flowing into his face and lungs and nose. He takes a deep breath in as he's flying forward and sighs outwards as he sees this figure out in the distance. Ugh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Getting too old for this shit.
Mr. Brick, he says on the communicator. And Mr. Brick, you hear that raspy voice of Geist as he goes, "You might have another contact here in a moment. I'm not quite too sure, but if I had to put my money on it, I say we're gonna have an encounter with another meta-human. Make yourself prepared."
Okay, guys. Is it a friendly Mattia Meadow?
There's a bit of silence and a little bit of static as you hear a sigh and you hear him repeat back to you. "I'd donate my left lung if it was a friendly. I doubt that's the case. Proceed with caution."
The mic picks up something that probably Brick didn't want you to hear. You hear something like, "Good, I wanted to smash something."
Okay. Well, as you guys get closer to where you're going to the Black Cat, the scene that you see in front of you is basically that there's this this mist, very familiar mist. That's exactly the sort of mist that Captain Vanguard's powers tended to summon, and there's this very, very large area with no mist, and that's where the Black Cat is. And you do see that Manny is on the Black Cat. He has pulled out some sort of a some sort of a mechanics kit, and he's clearly working on the busted wing, but it looks like it's something quite large to work out, and it's not something you can finish up in a minute. But he's on top of it clearly. Just kind of, he has like one of those, kind of like in the movie Aliens, where they have those portable little welding things with a little flip thing to block the flash. He has one of those kind of things, and he's welding like stuff on the busted up wing on the Black Cat as you arrive. But you don't see anyone else around. You just see the very thick, very high mist, but with this kind of donut hole in the middle where the Black Cat is.
Geist flies right on in, and as he does, he appears hovering before Manny, again leaving a small trail of wispy gray smoke that quickly dissipates as soon as it gets around 2 feet or so away from his body, leaving behind only those small contrails.
Okay, as he spots you, you can see that he kind of takes a little bit, distance, not like even a full step, but just, he has this kind of stiffness about him where he looks like he clearly wonders whether he should be prepared to bolt or duck and cover, because you were quite aggressive and volatile when he was writhing in pain on the floor, on the ground, when you saw his exposed neck.
How are repairs looking on that, Manny?
Not that good.
We'll have Mr. Brick carry that out of here.
Really?
He nods his head silently towards him. Yeah, we'll have him carry that out.
Yeah.
You see a little drool come out of his mouth as he's kind of like, and his neck kind of clenching as he's kind of. You just missed Captain Van as he made a run for it when there was a call of an invasion, and he ran off and put this mist up.
He nods his head as he talks. That's all right, Manny. We'll take care of the rest from there. You take it easy now.
I want to, before anything, I just want to say, I'm not with the barbarians. I'm not with any gang. You can believe that.
With a tired and wary look in his eyes, he just lifts up his head towards him. I already knew that. I kind of knew that the second I saw the tattoo, strangely enough. If you were a barbarian, well, I doubt you would have acted any of this way. That's not what a barbarian does. You have your reasons for having that, and those are your reasons.
It's not what the barbarians of today would do. I agree. But you see, this came before this, which came before, and he kind of stretches his skin, this. I'm helping you guys.
He'll hold up his hand to like stop him from talking, and he kind of hovers a little bit closer and goes, "You don't need to explain anything more. What's done is done. If you're here to help, then that's fine. Your past makes no difference to me now. The fact that you're here doing what you can is fine enough."
He kind of looks you up and down, and says, "I respect that," and extends his hand for you to shake.
In a slow hand, he comes out and grasps his. You'll notice that even though that he looks weakened and fatigued, there is still much strength in that handshake.
He'll look at you and just kind of nod, and you see that he has a very serious look about him. You know.
And then two massive arms grab both of them, pick them off the ground. I'm glad we settled this. Now maybe we should leave.
And you see,
Down.
when you grab him instinctually, you see that his fingertips like shoot out into these long tendrils, almost like a cat jumping from fright or something like this. Going, and then kind of, and they kind of go back into normal size fingers. Yeah.
Mr. Brick, it's good to see that you're here. You don't mind taking the black cat, would you?
I don't know how to fly it, guys. I can try.
No, I meant carrying it.
Oh. He shrugs. I've never picked up anything that heavy before.
There's no knowing if we still have the location of the tracer, but Captain Vanguard now knows of it, and there's the NCA is invading their territory. There's no saying if the truck will stay where it's now, or if somebody won't go and fiddle around with it.
That is true. However, we're a little broken up at the moment, and we need to be unified. The worst thing we can do now is start going off and trying to find one trail right after the other. That truck is going to have to wait. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, and since we know Captain Vanguard knows where it is, we can always tap him up for information later. We know where he lives.
As long as he will,
Besides,
as long as he will still be around after whatever's going on now. And that's when you get the communicator message from Liam.
Hey guys, Private Liam here, reporting for duty. Is everybody okay?
Where did you go, Liam? We were lost radio contact with you.
Yeah, sorry, I had to talk to Tanya about something she owed me, but 48 hours and the clock is ticking, so woohoo! Where you guys at?
We're down where the black cat went down.
Man, you guys are all over the place.
It's been a busy day.
Should I come over?
That would be most helpful, Liam.
All right. I just need to say hi to my sweetie, and I'll be right there.
Oh, please don't let us keep you waiting on that one.
No, it's okay.
Wait, Liam has a girlfriend? I thought he was married.
Geist just looks at you with like a flat look and he just kind of shakes his head.
Yep, that's what Liam said to Suplex. But, oh man, poor Mr. Brick. Okay, well.
So Liam will probably go to the reflexive pool, and he'll kind of like he did before, kind of throw up his runes, and they kind of swirl around and kind of land on specific locations.
On the ground, or do you throw them in the pool itself? Or
No. They always kind of connect to certain locations around the pool. Which makes it for him, in his opinion, easier to communicate. However, this time something happens that Liam didn't expect. As he kind of throws them, and the runes kind of swirl to their own spot, kind of like a tendril of the pool, kind of flicks at one of the stones, and it kind of just boom, drops in, and he's like, "What the hell?" So he kind of walks over there and says, "Baby, what are you doing? This isn't part of the deal." And he kind of tries to communicate with the pool and trying to have it kind of spit it back out. And it takes a moment, but after a while, the rune just blink comes back out again, and it kind of slows down, and he kind of tries to grab it, and the tendril again kind of goes up, and he still doesn't really want to touch the pool, so he looks a bit like, holy shit. And as he kind of grabs it, he disappears, and he kind of reappears at the black cat.
Oh, okay.
Just this once. Just
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. This is you spending experience points. Yeah. As that happens, while you were getting closer and closer to the reflective pool and all that, there was also this kind of, on top of that, there was this kind of ambience, this kind of audio thing of this kind of whale songs that it's let out before whenever you've been kind of in contact with it. So while that tendril thing and all that was happening, there was also this kind of, along with the kind of magical mist thing, there was also the kind of faint whale song, kind of like background thing. Is there anything, when you teleport, is there anything you want to describe about the teleportation itself? Does it like disassemble you and reassemble you somewhere? Is it something that transports you to some kind of pocket realm and transports you out of it, or is there anything you want to?
It kind of because this is a way larger distance than Liam would normally be able to teleport, but he kind of disappears for a moment, and he's in like this, almost like a night sky with stars and stuff around it, and there's this rainbow, and he's kind of like sliding over it, and he just kind of goes like, holy, and just before he realizes where he is, he stands at the black cat.
I see what you did there. I hear you. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens. Mr. Brick and Geist and Manny being contemplating whether or not Mr. Brick should carry the black cat out of the place. All of a sudden, just basically as you're standing there with Manny in front of you, all of a sudden, right in the middle of every one of you, just in this puff of basically just this very similar kind of mist as Liam was able to sense coming from the reflective pool, kind of puffs in the air. It looks different from the mist that is in the place already from what Captain Vanguard was able to, get from his powers. It's a different kind of mist, that just puffs, and all of a sudden Liam's there.
He looks a bit startled. Ta-da! Sorry to keep you guys waiting. He kind of dapped some colorful dust off of him and just. So, where are we at?
Mr. Brick is just staring dumbfounded at him, and then when he does talk, he's like, "Liam, what happened? How did you do that?"
Do what?
You appeared out of nowhere. Were you invisible?
No. I was just I felt that you guys needed me really urgent, so I just came here as quick as I could. Here I am. Hey, have you been in the cookie jar? Because you, my friend, have gone up a couple of inches. He kind of looks up at him.
I have changed, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I guess too. Wow. He kind of wants to kind of playfully kind of tap his stomach, but he sees the brick and kind of like, yeah, you, damn, you big man now.
Reflexively, Mr. Brick still kind of like tucks in as if you're going to hit him in the stomach, as if it would hurt. I'm glad you're back, Liam. I was going to have to carry this gigantic thing, and it looks heavy.
It does look heavy. But if anybody could carry it, be you, my friend.
That Mr. Brick just smiles and walks over to the carrier and just kind of like begins to just see if he can pick it up. Which with a grab and a groan,
It's
it's probably lighter than he thought it was.
Yeah, it's the thing is that as something to lift, if you have it like in this kind of atlas position, it would be, it wouldn't be that hard to pick it up. It's the awkwardness of its shape. It's so big that you can't just grab an edge and just lift it up from that edge. If you were right in the beneath it would be easy, but it's kind of awkward that way, where especially with the doors being open on the sides like a Huey chopper, if you just lift it from one side, all those precious boxes full of paper might kind of spew out from the other door or something. It would be kind of awkward to carry if you would have had to carry it by yourself.
Hold on, Mr. Brick. Now that Liam is here, I think we can allocate our resources now towards investigating what's going on over here. It seems perhaps the NCA is starting to invade.
And most likely with minimal opposition based on how the soldiers reacted.
Mr. Brick, you can put the vehicle back down. Manny, stay here with this. Continue your repairs. Keep in contact with us in case anything happens. We three should head out there immediately and see what's going on. If the NCA is able to take over this sector, the balance of power would shift dramatically. That'll build...
Wait. The NC, are we friends with them? Who are they again?
That is another enemy gang. They are definitely not our friends. The National Christian Army, a splinter group from the Ghost Division.
Liam remembers that when you arrived to the city, you actually ran into one of the NCA soldiers on the street. You saw a soldier with a shoulder patch that had a pole axe that had wings on it, and he spoke only Russian to you and tried to get you to put your hands up and stuff, and they gave you a little chase, and you distracted them with illusions and stuff.
Right, yeah, they're not very nice. Are you gonna keep on going without the mask, guys? Because, nice.
When we hit up the next J.C. Penney's, I'll have to pick up another one. In the meantime, I like the breeze. Come on. It begins to lift up into the air slowly and gliding on over towards the scene.
I kind
We gotta
of
make haste.
lean over to Mr. Brick. He kind of looks like Captain Phantom, doesn't he?
You didn't know, Liam?
What?
Phantom.
What? Really?
I don't know how he got out of that prison he was in, but here he is.
Oh, wow. It must have been like astral reflections or something.
Yeah, whatever those are.
Yeah. Well, come on, let's go.
Okay. It's nice that none of us wear masks now.
Holy shit, you're right. What happened to yours?
It fell off.
Oh, you should hide a pretty face like that.
If Mr. Brick could blush, he would, but he seems bashful and shy. It's like, you're the second person to tell me that.
Oh, it must be true.
He's like, all right, do you want to go with me, or do you want to use your own powers?
No, I prefer flying Brick Air.
Brick Air. He's like, excellent. And he reaches out, grabs you the way he normally does. Unless you want to climb on his back, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'll get on your back.
Now that you're not as big as me.
Holy shit. You're hard to keep a hold on, man. Jesus. I kind of created like a little seat that is kind of connected behind him.
like one of those baby.
Yeah.
This would be my Yoda. I'll be Luke.
Yep.
Oh, man. Okay, so where are you guys headed up to specifically?
I would say right towards where the action, like where Manny pointed us at, where the main, especially where we saw that figure in the air. He is going to be curious into seeing what's going down, because I'm figuring that's where all the fighting's happening.
Yep.
Okay.
Always the case.
Okay, so basically that's your beacon right now, where you saw that bright white figure flying in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you get airborne and fly off, there's moments where you don't see it. You have to stand around and kind of glower over, in which time you notice stuff like you notice that there's no gunfire going on. When you guys were here the last time, there was gunfire going on, even for training purposes, that clearly took place in somewhere having practice shooting going on and stuff, where it was clearly like in these kind of volleys and stuff. You don't hear any gunfire going on. You don't hear any kind of shrieking or screaming in the streets. You don't hear any explosions or anything like that. But after you've been in the air for a little while, what you hear is singing. And what you hear is basically singing in Russian. I don't know if Geist knows Russian, since you do have that in your family. You're free to decide whether your character knows Russian, even through some grandmother or somebody who talked mostly Russian or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? Having a second language of Russian wouldn't be too bad.
Okay. I'll grant that to you, because this, like I've mentioned before, the Midnight City, or Midway City as it was before, the Russian and Eastern European minorities are the largest ethnic and linguistic minority of the city. So if you're gonna bump into another language, it's most likely going to be Russian or Polish, rather than Spanish or Italian, like in most places on the East Coast, perhaps. But yeah, you hear this singing where it's this kind of a jolly singing, this kind of a singing that might happen in a football game, or that might happen in a bar where people are singing together. It might happen in any kind of positive kind of social gathering. It's this kind of a drinking song, but not about drinking and stuff. Kind of like Irish songs and stuff like that, like like that sort of thing. And you hear it as being sung first by a small group of men, then by a larger group of men, and then you hear another group of people join in on it. And after a little while, after flying there, before even seeing the winged figure in the sky again, you hear this kind of booming that there's almost like this parade kind of, not parade is not the right word, but this joined singing kind of, it's like a mixture of a hymn and like a religious hymn and this kind of drinking song. It has this very strong kind of like cultural identity kind of feel to it.
You mean like when you're at a stadium, like at a football game, and everyone's just chanting for their team and stuff? You mean something like that?
Well, not exactly. It's kind of like, if it's kind of this, if you can imagine that anybody who's been brought up in a certain place, everyone would instinctively know the lyrics to, and if somebody would be like singing it, anybody could like jump on it, kind of like, those Irish kind of like like hurdy diddle do. I don't know any of those, but with this kind of religious hymn kind of taste in it. It's very like it's. I don't have any real life examples to compare it to, but having Russian roots and kind of like knowing this place, you have a lot of like Russian and Eastern European kind of flair to it. It like feels kind of familiar. It feels like if people are segmented in based on ethnicity and culture, that's the stuff that binds those groups together, kind of thing. And you can immediately like make out that since there's no gunfire and stuff going off, most likely the NCA people might have started singing, and the Ghost Division people who are sympathetic to them and not wanting to kill their brothers are taking up with the song, kind of. And that's what's going on in the streets.
When this happens, Geist begins to lower himself down lower and lower, gliding lower towards the street level before landing on top of a building of some sort to oversee what's going on, making sure to wave down Mr. Brick and Liam to land behind him or close by at their leisure, as he stands there with a foot propped onto the lip of the brick building overlooking the scene before him. He sort of leans forward, his eyes narrow, again that raspy breath of his leaving his lips as he oversees what's going on. He thinks to himself, this is interesting. Everyone's in song. The battle's already over. What happened here?
By that time, I'm sure Mr. Brick would have also leapt to the air with Liam and landing. Would you be located somewhere where Mr. Brick is most likely going to land on a jump, or?
Yeah. I just have one question. Like, how far away was that? Like, miles wise?
That's up for Phil to describe.
Either one.
It's
only because I just looked up how far I can actually leap, and I can leap 16.
Oh, screw that! You can leap there.
Yeah. So that's and I'm not limited, so I can do that in one turn. So that's like a speed leap.
Oh yeah, that's not that relevant, Even if you would have to make a couple of leaps, it's not like there's a combat sequence going on right now.
Yeah. So Mr. Brick lands maybe the building behind Liam, as he's not 100% used to landing now, as he's heavier and bigger. He kind of hits the building, crunch, 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 then kind of leaps up and then lands behind, using that as kind of a buffer to slow himself down, and then lands behind Geist, and just kind of like pretends that was what he meant to do as he slows down. Okay,
Geist,
Leia, we're here.
Geist turns to the two of you all and waves you over.
Yeah, Geist comes over, surprisingly quiet and sort of blending into the darkness of the building itself.
What are they singing?
I have no clue, but no one's fighting.
So are these our enemies?
This looks like the National Christian Army.
All right, do we want to kill them?
No. We need to find out what's going on first. If this is a complete and utter domination of this sector, we have a big problem on our hands. It means our enemies have just gotten more powerful.
Not per se.
As
What
you're
makes you say that?
Well, I mean, if there's been fighting amongst each other, then sure, they've got new territory if they won, but they probably lost a couple of guys in the process.
They've also gained a larger portion as well. Look, you'll see some of the soldiers down below. Those guys there, they belong to the Ghost Division.
Yeah,
Looks
but don't
like-
you think they've died? Several of them?
No, there was a coup that was going on, Liam.
Oh, damn. Well, then shouldn't we kill them? I mean, we have a great vantage point. I could create like a meteor or something that strikes in the middle of them. Boom!
No, we shouldn't kill him, Liam.
Or even better, we could send Mr. Brick out on them. Just throw them in the middle and they'll just smash.
No, I don't want to kill anyone, Liam.
Oh,
I mean, they're not hurting anyone.
Not yet.
while you're
Oh, sorry, go on.
while you're on the roof there, you notice after a while that soldiers wearing well, not the colors, but the kind of men are letting their beards grow out, and they're wearing and they're the soldiers of the Ghost Division have berets on their heads, and the NCA soldiers don't have any headgear or anything, and they let their beards grow. Apart from those shoulder pads, those are the most clearest distinctive features to tell them apart, especially since there's no color schemes to be made out in this gray waste. What you see is clearly soldiers of the NCA, slowly starting to walk from the distance and coming out of buildings with their assault rifles, kind of loosely hanging on their chests. Some of them are just leaning on them like that. Some of them have a loose grip like that, but nobody's being all tactical or anything like that. And they're singing the song, and there you have like this kind of step, like they're kind of kicking their feet forward a little bit in this kind of lazy fashion, in this kind of relaxed kind of fashion, and you see that as they're kind of like kind of singing as they're walking there, you see that a lot of people in buildings across the street, you see heads coming up, and they're wearing those berets, Ghost Division gear and stuff, and you hear responding singing from them, and you see from one window that a patch is thrown out to the ground, and after that you see another patch from somewhere, another patch, and another patch, until there's just patches being thrown out of windows, and people of the soldiers of the Ghost Division are starting to come out, and you can even see some of them recognize a cousin of theirs, a brother of theirs, a neighborhood friend of theirs in the other army, and start to immediately quicken their pace to get to them, and there's like people hug each other, and there's singing going on.
Aw. It's like a
Yeah.
reunion.
It's just as I thought. The NCA is starting to absorb all of the Ghost Division. Looks like it's curtains for them. Now, I wonder what happened to their leader.
I think this is
And
a
he's
good
like scanning.
time to get that truck. Guys,
What did you say, Mr. Brick?
I think this is the time we should grab the truck and destroy it. We should have never let that get out of our sight.
I agree, but circumstances were overwhelming. But now we have the opportunity. Let's go. And from there, Geist begins to take off and tries to locate where the truck might be.
So you guys are sure I don't need to drop something on these guys? Just rechecking.
Rain fire on them.
All right.
Not
that's
now.
enough. Okay. I'm just saying there's a lot of them collected. I could just, well, never mind.
Believe me, I wouldn't mind seeing them disappear off the face of this earth. However, we have bigger fish to fry. In the meantime, let them fight amongst themselves.
Well, that's
They'll
just
feel emboldened enough.
there's not a lot of fighting going on, guys. Come on. I mean, look at them. They're just hugging it out.
No. This is a brother against brother. They'll soon go after the barbarians, and then the rest of them. They'll clash.
All right.
It'll make our job much easier. He says that as he begins to like float upwards in a grim manner.
I look at Mr. Brick. Can I get a round ticket on your back, or do we need to?
Of course, Liam. Jump
Excellent.
on. Once Guy spots the place, then I'll leap over there.
Damn. I mean, I kind of hop on his back and say, like, "You are the bomb."
Thanks, Liam.
And Geist immediately begins to scan the area to look for that truck.
Okay. Do you have some sort of a scanning, kind of thing that's connected to the tracer, just like the radars in the Black Cat?
Absolutely not. I was just hoping I can go by visual.
Well, no.
Wait,
My
do we
visual
know?
kind of rough.
Do we have like a rough visualization of where it was heading to, like as far as what?
Yeah. In that sense, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's the main road that's going from kind of vertically. Yeah, that's the word. That was going vertically across from the barbarian territory all the way to the Ghost Division territory that the truck came in on. It was in the location was on a building that was on a street that extended from that main road, and it was pretty much in the north, in the northern parts, very close to the edge of this territory and north from the main road. But still, a lot of buildings to cover if you just want to go by side alone.
Well, that would put it near the near the river, wouldn't it? Well, not the river, but the waters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured as much. So Geist will look towards the other two. Last time we saw the vehicle, it was heading towards the upper northern portion. It should be near the corner area.
I kind of, because I'm assuming Geist is already quite a distance away. I'm kind of talking over the communicator. Say, wouldn't Manny be able to track it in the Blackbird and just communicate the location to us?
Yeah, Manny's at that helicopter thingy. Manny?
Over.
I'm here.
Hey, Manny, do you know where the location of the truck is at this time? Over.
I'll check the coordinates. And after a little while, he comes back and, right, it's the address is Blue Street 45. It's the warehouse district, and it's in the warehouse garage of 24C.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. I kind of look at Mr. Brick and say, Brickmeister, I really appreciate your jumping capacity, but seeing as there's a lot of people down there, how about I get us away from us here a bit quieter like, and after we're somewhat of a distance, you can go all out.
Sure, that sounds great, Liam.
All right.
I need to do your invisibility thing.
Even better. Are you ready to see colors? All right, let me see if this works. I kind of grab my new rune and kind of concentrate and kind of pop us over several times.
Okay. You're free to describe what the sensation feels like to Mr. Brick. It's
Well, I don't know if Mr. Brick ever went ice skating as he was a kid or something. It's kind of like that, because he's kind of first off he's standing quietly, standing solidly, and then all of a sudden he's sliding over this thing, and anybody who doesn't have an excellent balance would be like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna fall," because you're gonna go. You're sliding around quite quickly, but there's no real fear at that moment. You're just you're moving at a immense speed, almost instantaneously. You're boink, and then just as you land, and you go like, "Holy shit!" You boink, you were again gone. You're sliding over this rainbow kind of thing, slide, and just boink, 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 and he does this about I don't know how many times, but he just wants to get a reasonable audio distance away from them before he says like, "Jump!"
And we finally stop. Mr. Brick just, "Oh, it's beautiful, Liam. What it was." Then he stops and kind of like, you can hear the sound of his belly just churning. And he kind of retches off to the side. Oh,
God.
Sorry.
Two like little stones come out at puke or something.
It was too fast, too many. But it was beautiful.
Oh, god damn.
He's like, "Where are we?"
I kind of look back. I don't know. We were somewhere over there. I just looked at where we went next.
Where's Geist? He didn't go with us?
No, he was already floating in that direction.
And after a little while, you see Geist coming through the
Mr. Brick scratches his head. He's like, "Do you know where Blue Warehouse 8C32 down by the river is? I've never been over here."
I hardly know the city, but Geist probably does.
Yeah, Geist is a former cop. He knows the streets, man.
And Geist is flying over, and just like his cop sense is picking up back from those old days, he sees where that is, and he flies overhead to you two, stopping in midair only briefly with the little wisps of gray smoke whizzing about him. "Follow me. I know where it is." And flies off in that direction. And not too long beforehand, you all following behind, you quickly see that he stops in front of the warehouse, floating there, waiting for you all to catch up as he lands on the ground.
All right. When you see the warehouse, it's a one-story warehouse. It's like kind of like one of those firefighter garages where there's like the sliding doors that would fit like a fire truck through, you know, and there's the same kind of amount of basically room to maneuver with a large vehicle. So you know, most likely the truck is inside that place where the there's two of those sliding doors. There's windows, but there's no light emanating from the windows coming out, and there's no sign of life anywhere. It's very inconspicuous. There's no guards anywhere. There's no nothing.
As we're jumping after Geist, I kind of look at Mr. Brick and say, "Wait, since when did Geist start smoking?"
I just thought he was hot. That was steam.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Why do you think that? Because that ghost guy could do that. Do you think Captain? Geist is falling apart?
Nah, probably not.
He does. He kind of like reaches up and covers his little community. He's like, he does look tired. You know.
He does, doesn't he? He's an old man.
He's not that old.
He's at least 40.
Mr. Brick laughs. That's not old. I'm older than that.
Really?
He's like, yeah.
How old are you?
Well, I don't know exactly, but 60 something.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? You're 60 years old?
Whoa, around there. I was in the lab that we saw for 30-something years.
Holy shit, you're immortal?
No. Well, what's immortal?
That you can't die of old age, or maybe not even die at all.
No, I don't know. I think I can die.
Well, let's not put it to the test.
Underwater.
You breathe underwater?
No, I can't breathe underwater.
Ah, okay, good. Good to know. Just gonna pat him on the shoulder.
That's comforting.
As you all arrive, Geist looks to you all. Good. Now that we're all here, there is the possibility that all this was set up as some sort of elaborate trap. Not the first time this would happen. I'm going to go in and check and make sure the coast is clear.
Roger.
You all wait here. And with that, Geist begins to glide over right towards those main doors. And as soon as he gets up to them, he'll stop, and his hands will gently place up against them, and then his head will begin to phase on through. And you'll see it as the camera flips to the other side. We'll see his face. A little tiny line will be there at first, with a slight orange outline. And there his face will be appearing halfway through as he looks inside.
Okay. When you look inside, the view is extremely simple. It's a completely bland warehouse building, concrete floor, brick walls, ceiling, and everything like that. But there is exactly that same truck as you guys were tracking. That same truck is there. It's parked there. The lights are off. There's nobody's leaning on it, sitting on it, or anything. And next to the truck, a little bit off to the side, there's this little setup. There's these two kind of like camping tables. These kind of large ones that you can just kind of clink, like get the feet off the table to basically flatten it and stuff. There's two of those kind of forming this V shape there together, and there's a little lab set up there with a little laboratory equipment and stuff. And there's basically one quite illuminating, like fluorescent light that has this kind of these screens on it, these kind of foggy screens, so that it doesn't like burn bright everywhere. It's very like mild, but it's lighting the entire table setup. And in behind that table, basically with his back towards you, there is a man in a lab coat, a single man, and there you don't see any guns anywhere or anything. And he has some sort of an apparatus that you can't quite make out in his hands, and he's he has like a some sort of a glass tube of something that he's shaking in front of his face, and he's not looking at you into your direction.
When that happens, you see his whole body phase through the doors, and then in the shadows, he turns to his radio and whispers into it, "I'm inside. The coast looks clear, very plain. Only one individual can be found inside." He takes another gander around. "You all can come on in now. I'm going to go ahead and secure our guest here."
Should we break in, or is there a way to open a door or something?
I'll leave that to you all.
I got it, Liam.
I know you do, buddy.
And as soon as he says that, Geist begins to just glide, flying through the ground as he phases. The only thing left is that his body begins to sink into the ground. Only his head is appearing from the ground as he's just flying towards where this man in the lab coat is. And as he flies right up, this man in the lab coat, all of a sudden, he's sitting there looking at the apparatus going, that's right there, this right here. And then all of a sudden, behind him, this shady form of Geist is right behind him.
All right. The dude in the lab coat is something like, I would say something like 55 years old or something like that. And he is missing one of his ears. And he has like a bald lagoon head with like, the sides all gray and stuff. And, a tiny bit overweight, and he's something like 6 feet tall, and yeah, he's there just kind of, and like you said, guys appearing behind him, and he doesn't hear you coming.
Of course he doesn't, and that's when Geist will tap him on the shoulders a little bit for a good startle, and perhaps that's when the my two compatriots will bust in.
Okay, well, as you tap him on the shoulder, he immediately gets startled like crazy. Like he immediately turns around and he's like, and looks at you with these big round eyes. And yeah, is Mr. Brick just gonna bust through the wall, or? You're muted.
Damn it! He smiles at Liam, and then grabs the door. The door. Are they opening screen doors or like overhead doors that come down?
They're basically like those firehouse kind of things that you can just, kind of just.
So the overhead, yeah. So he reaches down, smiles, and then all his might he just kind of rips him up, forgetting that he's so much stronger now, and it just kind of like swings out almost like a blanket of metal, just going, and the whole thing comes crashing down. And he looks there surprised, holding the metal, looking at Liam, and then looking back at at Geist and the startled guy. It's open, Liam.
Does Geist react in any way when this happens behind his back, basically?
Geist just typically he just turns and this is exactly what he was actually kind of expecting. He was expecting this kind of a grandiose entrance a little bit, And he just kind of nods his head at that. And this man in a lab coat, you and me have a few things to talk about.
All right. Basically, as he was startled, as he turned around and was like, and then all of a sudden, just Mr. Brick busts in, and you say that he basically reacts with just saying, "Holy Christ!" And when he says that, you see him look down, and the apparatus that he has in his hand all of a sudden makes sense to Geist when you're looking at it, because there's a trigger here and there's a muzzle here, and he just like shoots himself on the thigh as he's like with the gun. And
Does he do it on purpose or accidentally?
Or snap kind of sound.
Does he do it on purpose or accidentally?
On purpose. But he does do it out of fright. It's kind of like, if somebody would have a gun in his hand and then somebody would startle them and they would kind of like, that kind of thing. So it kind of looks like it's not something he kind of totally thought through, but he instinctively kind of like stabs himself with the apparatus,
Damn it, he's using the mutagen. Get him quick.
We've been watching the same cartoons, I imagine.
Geist just kind of looks down at him and he kind of approaches forward and grabs him by his collar and says, "I think you're going to need to take a seat," and just like throws him onto a chair or something.
And immediately when you go and grab him, he already is like, immediately after that, like with the apparatus drops from his hands. By the time you go and grab him by the collar, it drops to the ground. Doesn't break or anything. It just kind of clunk to the ground, and he immediately starts to kind of convulge and kind of go, stiff, kind of like this, and he starts to get to get these kind of this kind of spasm attack, this kind of as you're holding him by the collar there.
The hell did you do to yourself?
How good a view do Mr. Brick and I have on this whole thing?
Oh, very good view. You're in the doorway, and the only thing worth seeing in the warehouse is that there's a truck, and then there's the lit little corner where Geist is holding the professor or the lab coat guy by the collar.
Is that just are there electronical devices that are plugged in anywhere on the table, like computers or something?
Yeah, there's a computer, and then there's like machines that stir stuff and heat up stuff, and those kind of chemist kind of setups.
Okay, so I kind of create a dome around the table. And I create a little dome around the gun that he dropped, and kind of have it slide over towards us.
Okay. That happens. What exactly does the dome that encompasses the lab setup? What does it also encompass? Geist and the
no, just the materials. I want to protect him so that he doesn't smash him accidentally or something. So it's a protective dome, and the dome around the gun was to prevent him from stepping on it and smashing it as well.
Okay, it kind of looks like it's kind of heavy stuff. It looks kind of like it's kind of the size of a I don't know, like half of a grenade launcher or something like that. It's kind of like a bulky little thing, very gun shaped and bulky,
Yeah, so I have it slide over towards me and the thing just to protect the table and the stuff on it.
Okay. What about Mr. Brick?
Mr. Brick, some reason I clicked and my screen moved. I was like, Mr. Brick kind of steps forward, standing close to Liam, doesn't want to leave Liam's side, and sees that it looks like, Geist has everything underhand with that convulsing guy now that he's shielded. But he does look. He's trying to like. Is the truck? The truck is directly in front of him.
Yeah.
Or it would be So it's right there. And he kind of looks over his shoulder. He's like, Liam, can I destroy the stuff in the truck so nobody can have it?
Probably, but I'd wait until Geist gives the all okay for that.
Okay. Then you see like Mr. Brick kind of widens his stand and just kind of taps his feet real loudly. And then he's like, Geist, can I destroy the truck?
Hold on, Mr. Brick. I gotta see if I can get some answers out of this one here. What did you do to yourself? Come on, speak!
Not perfect. Oh! He's like there's like you can hear these crunching sounds as like muscles are bulging up violently on it, like as these kind of on his body, and immediately when something protrudes that's visible to the naked eye, it has that same kind of concrete texture surface as Mr. Briggs and 655321's skin have.
Okay, I immediately phase him right into the ground.
Okay.
So here's what they see. They see this guy just going to this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde transformation, and Geist just his eyes go wide for a moment as he makes the comparison between him and Mr. Brick, and all of a sudden you just see them two go into the ground. They both phase into the ground. The 6 feet under burial. The burial has been done, and then you just see Geist rising back up, just with his hands.
That should be like the anti-climax to every boss battle possible. That's legendary. Like you're not a Jedi yet. Then just
As Geist is kind of pulling this guy down, Liam is sitting in this overly exaggerated leather chair and is holding a pipe and is looking at Mr. Brick and says, "Son, your mother and father love each other very much, and well, when a man and a woman love each other very much, sometimes little bricks come out. And this was probably one of your brothers. But he's gone now, and he's off to a better place. I hope you're okay with that."
Mr. Brick shoots bricks during this.
He's sort of stunned. He's like, he couldn't be my brother. Or wait, he was around my age.
No, oh shit, no, it's not. It was a joke. He was just, but they were using the experiments that they use on you. He's not your brother. He's not your brother. Definitely not. He was just a strange scientist.
When you see what he said about the experiments on him, Mr. Brake's visage just becomes angry and mad. And the lines that are would be red in the real world are brighter red, which become even a darker black around the edges as his adrenaline starts pumping through him. Guys, we need to destroy this stuff now. We can't have any more experiments.
We need to see what's inside first. Collect samples so we can analyze them.
Wait.
You guys now have a complete lab set up, and you have the papers in the boxes in the Black Cat. You guys have pretty much, you might have everything you would need to kind of, if you would want to start the operation yourself, you might have all the necessary tools in your hands without the know-how of how to interpret them and use them and stuff.
Mr. Brick, can you read? Yeah,
Yes.
of course, you read comics. I kind of project illusions on the wall. Turn off your communicators.
Mr. Brick reads, turn off your communicators.
Damn it!
What do you I can read pretty good, Liam.
I kind of walk over to him and kind of start fiddling with his communicator.
Yeah, he's just got an earpiece. You can pop it out if you want.
Yeah, but Liam doesn't want them to send anything out.
It takes a couple seconds, but like Mr. Brick finally gets. Oh, right, okay, and he kind of turns his off.
Geist reaches over and turns his off, and then walks over towards you two. What's this about, Liam?
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a moment. He kind of looks around, and he just kind of creates a dome around them. Okay. Oh, by the way, the truck isn't in that dome because he knows there's a tracking device on the truck. Says, all right, if we're gonna bring all of this stuff in back towards the forge and that sort of stuff, and hand it over to Tanya, she's gonna have all the data and all the stuff that she needs to continue or improve on the experiment that was done on Mr. Brick here. Is that what we want?
Are you really accusing or suggesting that Tanya Vasilevich would ever do something like that?
Yes.
I just want to find my parents, and I want to destroy this stuff so nothing happens to like 55321.
I understand your feelings on this, Mr. Brick, but we also must understand exactly what it is that the enemy is planning to do. We already have a rough idea, but if we can identify what exactly that they're doing in the process, we might be able to do, I don't know, some sort of vaccine against it, neutralizing it.
I'm just saying, if we hand all of this stuff over, or we bring it back home, and we start examining it, we'll maybe even be able to create a cure. But we're no scientists. But Tanya will have all the data and all the information she needs to, I don't know, sell it, use it for something, do bad things with it. I don't know.
I've worked with Tanya Vasilevich for over 30 years going on. I'll tell you this now. She'll never do anything like that. It's not her prerogative.
You sure?
I'm very sure.
All right.
I worked with her for a long time. I've come to trust her.
I don't know her that well, but so far she hasn't been a real trustworthy person. But I trust you guys, so we'll go ahead with it. As long as Mr. Brick's okay with it. If he wants to destroy it, I'm on his side.
We already have enough data from the Blackbird. From the Black Cat. We already have enough data that we can get from these tables here. The truck, he looks it over. That can be destroyed.
Liam destroys the dome around him and turns back his communicator. All right, great job, guys. Nice teamwork.
You see, sort of grim-faced, Mr. Brick starts walking towards the truck, and he says, "You have 5 minutes to collect what you want before this whole building's destroyed."
Liam walks out.
Geist walks over and begins to collect a few of the papers and stuff. And after that...
There isn't that much paper, but there is this computer, basically. There just a laptop that's connected to the landline there.
It still has a dome around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll collect that. Yeah, I'll take the laptop. That's all it needs.
But there's still a dome around it, so unless Liam releases it.
He looks towards Liam and is like, Liam, can you release the dome off of this?
He looks hesitant for a moment.
Yeah, sure. He just disappears.
Oh, and of course, Liam did yank that injection gun through the floor, so you have that at your feet on the ground as well.
Oh, I definitely grabbed that one. That's going to be interesting to find out.
Okay.
So he grabs that too. He's got the laptop, he's got that, and then he flies on out. Well, kind of just hovers a few feet off the air and then flies forward.
Okay.
Once everyone's out, Mr. Brick looks down, reaches into his pouch, and pulls out that bent, really used comic book that belonged to that child. Kind of nods, puts it back into his pouch, and then begins to just systematically just smashing stuff, and then it turns into just him just yelling and screaming and bashing and destroying, letting all the fury, his hate, his anger out, to the point where he's picked up the truck and slammed it down to the ground, leaped into the air, right through the top of the warehouse, come back down through the warehouse, just hitting the ground as hard as he can, destroying huge chunks of the concrete, just until he continually pounds and pounds, trying to just knock this whole section of the warehouse into the water. And he'll do that until there's nothing left, until there's bits and pieces and tiny bits of junk. And he doesn't care who is in the area, who sees him do this.
Okay. Yeah, well, you see that, of course, yeah, in the truck there are those cylinders and all those things. Everything that you guys were basically looking after is there. Nothing has been dropped off somewhere else and now it's hidden there or anything. Everything is there for you to smash, and indeed, it all goes to smithereens. And you can be assured that unless somebody has been able to manufacture new tubes, that all of the 12 tubes from the original laboratory facility are now destroyed. And there's the two that are simply, that could be repaired with, a lot of work and stuff, but these are just pulverized after your little rampage there. So everything in the warehouse gets absolutely pulverized into dust and little tiny bits. And as like how much like did you say that you're gonna have the stuff like go into the river side or
yeah, I mean, I in my head I pictured the warehouse was probably on the edge of where the river was, and if Mr. Brick, seeing that, would just keep hitting the ground till eventually, like when he did the building, would just split and just fall into the water once he's destroyed and smashed everything, just so that goes into the water to deal with it. And, one more way of keeping it away from people or prying eyes or anything like that.
Okay, there you go. So not just the building and not just everything inside the building, the street that the building was on is also completely wrecked and destroyed. And it's kind of it's a sight for both Geist and Liam to witness, because Mr. Brick is immensely powerful now, and his strength is on full display here. You can imagine if this kind of energy and strength was dispensed on something else, like you remember the giant monster that got its brains bashed in with a single punch earlier on. That, yeah, Mr. Brick is definitely a force to reckon with in terms of his strength. And this leaves just like a cloud of dust coming from all the concrete and bricks being destroyed. And Mr. Brick also finds himself climbing out from bricks being on top of him, like before.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, please.
I'd like to add on that, as this is happening, Geist is moved back at this point, and he's standing beside Liam. And as he does so, he just looks onward towards the pummeling destruction that Mr. Brick lays unleashed. And we know with every punch that he delivers, a plume of smoke, which is basically just rubble from ground that has been hit so hard it goes upwards, the same way that you would drop a pebble into a pond. The water reverberates upwards. So too does the ground and the dirt and the dust is pummel upwards more and more. And with every punch along with that, these seismic booms to be heard. The speed and force of those, creating those sonic booms. Liam and Geist being that close to the action, our clothes are being fluttered back with the wind and backdraft from all this, and we can feel it through the very ground itself, the immense force and pressure. And he turns to Liam and says, if this is only the beginning of their experiments, we're going to be in for a very hard time. This serum, I suspect it's probably in more places than one. And at this rate, they'll probably be trying to make an army. We can't have that. And he looks down at the two items before him. We gotta find a solution, and quick. We gotta stop this. The barbarians cannot have this power. None of them can't.
Who's gonna research it? Because I agree, they probably have backups. None of us is a scientist.
But we're not helpless either. Manning and Vaslovich can help out with that process. They're good at these things. They can work something out. At least a basic theorem. We just need more information. That man, he shot himself with this as he holds up the gun. Imagine if every single one of those goons had something like that on them. At instant demand, they could become as powerful as Mr. Brick here. He just begins shaking his head.
Liam swallows and looks and says, holy shit, I tend to forget how much of a force of nature he is. He's such a soft-spoken kind of guy. Holy shit. I kind of tilt my head as he just knocks down over the side of a building. And just, damn.
I'll also mention that when Mr. Brick is pounding away, at some point, the ground will crack to the point where and implode with your strikes, where you will see the mangled body that Geist shifted 6 feet under into the ground, and you can see that the scientist has pretty similar but different placement of the bulges and deformities that 655321 has, but he's at the same way kind of mangled, where one foot is bulkier than the other, one arm is shriveled up, and there's a single tooth sticking out, and one eye is like jammed shut, and one is like protruding out, and that sort of stuff. But he's completely like crushed to death from the pressure of the ground itself. But yeah, his corpse is there in mid transformation with this kind of deformed stuff. If he would have not been shifted through the ground itself, most likely he would have been an easy enemy to handle. He most likely would have been some sort of a shrieking, pain-ridden creature, like more of a pathetic and sympathetic variety than scary.
Mr.
You're
Brick.
right.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he goes, you're right, Liam. He is a force of nature. And so are us. However, there's only 3 of us. And we can only do so much.
Yeah, Mr. Brick climbs out of the now crater hole that drops directly into the river itself. Covered in dirt and dust, he brushes himself off and walks up to Geist and to Liam, and he kind of holds out the comic book that's now kind of torn and ripped apart even more from Mr. Brick's furious assault. And he says, the monster in the center of town was a small boy that I saved. Not less than a week ago.
What?
He kind of like, Mr. Brick kind of waves the comic in front of your face. He's like, this was the boys. This is what that creature was holding. He says, they're doing experiments on children. We need to stop them. We need to crush them all.
Oh, man. Liam turns even paler than than he already usually is.
With this information, we'll formulate an attack plan. We'll find out where the supply drops are coming from, where the distribution networks are, and we'll begin shutting them down one by one. Eventually, they'll draw out their bosses. Then we can deal with them one at a time. And then we can take out that bastard Ironside once and for all. And then the rest of them. He turns, and his head's looking outwards towards where he thinks the NCA and the Ghost Division are, and perhaps those leaders as well, those enigmatic men in charge of those gangs in this war-torn city.
Liam kind of stands there and he all of a sudden like disappears and reappears maybe with a few steps in between on a rooftop of a building.
On a very high building, or
Yeah, relatively high. That he has
Does
a nice
is it any specific location, or just
No, just that he had that he has an overview of the place that that Mr. Brick kind of smashed, and he stands there and grabs his probably his favorite room, and he squeezes it harder and harder, and after a while, a drop of blood kind of drops from his hand, and stuff starts to move and shape in the spot where Mr. Brick kind of destroyed everything, and it starts to shape into this stone-like structure, and it takes a relative while for it to kind of form and shape, and after a while you see a statue has formed, and there's a young boy on it, and the young boy has a comic book in his hand, and he kind of looks at the comic book and has a smile on his face. And then he nods and reappears next to Geist and Mr. Brick.
okay? This did take a little while to do the whole construct, especially if you're doing something rather artistic or something.
Yeah. He's kind of drawing with materials that creating them out of nothing, but he's taking a while to make details, and he's trying to form a thing of the kid having hope in his eyes.
Okay, I see. What about Mr. Brick and Geist while this is happening? Because all you see is Liam disappearing in a puff, and then all of a sudden this construct starting to build itself on the coast there, on the crater. Yeah, what do you guys do?
Well, while that's happening, Geist walks up to Mr. Brick, and I imagine it's far enough away where we couldn't really hear any of that going on. But it would be something that we would notice later on as we're talking. He looks towards him and says, "I'm sorry about what happened, Mr. Brick. This city has a way of turning the youth into their own form of monsters. In this case, quite literal. However, the longer this city remains the way it is, the more will be taken. The more will be changed."
Thank you, guys. I think I just want to stop all of this. I'm tired of watching innocents get hurt. I thought when I joined the group we would be able to do this quickly. But it's not it's not it's not like in the comics. It's taking longer, it's harder.
That's the one thing the comics never cover, Mr. Brick. They never cover how long it takes. I've been at this for a long time. It doesn't go away. It's an endless crusade. And it only stops until you stop. And by then the job isn't done. That's why the mantle has to get passed. Crime never rests, and neither do we. That's the burden. Call it what you will. It is what it is. Take that lesson to heart, Mr. Brick. And don't forget what happened to that boy. I'm sure you never will. I'll never forget the youths that created a bomb and killed my wife that day. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget all the tragedies I had to witness over the years in this damned city. With its damned people, and its damned gangs, politics. I'll never forget any of it. But here I am still, for reasons I don't even know anymore. But I'm going to continue doing what I can. Even if it's just a little bit. I'll keep doing enough. You, me, and Liam, and Manny, we have to move mountains now. And the city is all that we have for it. And we will do. We have to do. And just then, he turns to see the construct that Liam has constructed. And Mr. Brick, if you notice, he gestures with his head over that way for you to look in that direction to see that.
Oh, he does, yeah. Sort of silently as he turns, taking in everything that Geist has said, slowly having the smallest amount of a smile, reassured that Geist is at least going to fight with them, and hoping that Liam will also fight with him to clear the city of all the horrors that it holds. He turns, and when he's sort of down at kind of a lowest point in the conversation, and he turns and sees that child, maybe not exactly like the child that he had saved, maybe not, maybe slightly taller, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little more well-fed than the small lad that he had saved. But there's enough of a recognition to see there that Mr. Brick sort of steps forward and then just kind of falls down to one knee, not in any way where he was hurt or harmed, or he just brought to his knees with looking at this this statue. and he looks down once again at his left hand at the comic that's there, and looks back up at the kid, the statue of the child, and just quietly to himself, he just says, "Never again." And he kind of just stands up and looks up and sees Liam appear next to him. "That's beautiful, Liam. Thank you."
You're welcome, buddy. We're gonna make it stop.
Geist silently nods to that, and in his own mind, he thinks to himself as he sees those two, as he slightly backs away, maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough.
Liam kind of moves his hand, and you see letters appear under the statue. It says, "In loving memory of all the children lost, the long swords." And there's a sword, our symbol at the end.
That's, Mr. Brick reaches out and kind of puts his arm around Liam, kind of around his shoulder, and kind of just squeezes him and says, "That's a nice touch, Liam. I like that. Everyone should know that the long swords are here."
Exactly. And we're done taking shit of people.
And now in this touching moment where all of you are gathered around the statue in appreciation and in a strong form of camaraderie and everything, that's this kind of final thing that ties everything together. In stereo, everyone's stomach grumbles. It has been a long time. You're all extremely tired, extremely hungry, and you're running low on adrenaline. And it's only at 11:10 here. I'm still willing to go on. This would just be a really good spot to end the session, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with stopping right now. I kind of like the way it sums it up there, and when we can pick it up at the diner.
Yeah. Where are you away from the keyboard?
No, I just had to attend to something real quick, but I did hear what was going on. I'm fine with stopping here. This is a good point to stop.
Yeah, that's a nice picture of all of you being there and everyone realizing that you could really do with some whatever it is you always order at Tommy's. Was it a gyro or something?
Gyro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to end it though with Geist looking down at a watch, a familiar little stopwatch of his. However, unlike other watches, you notice that the timer is different. It's got a preset amount of years on it, and it's ticking backwards. And it ticks, and it reads 3 years and 11 months and 4 days, and so on up to the seconds as it keeps ticking. And he looks upon it. His head nods, and he looks at Liam and Mr. Brick inside the diner as they're about to make their order and stuff. Liam cracking up jokes as always. Mr. Brick, some of them going over his head, and others he doesn't, and he laughs. And the establishment owner coming over, doing his normal thing, and he looks, and he nods his head, and he says out loud as he, well, not out loud, but to himself underneath his breath, maybe Just maybe it'll be enough. As he puts the cowl back over his face and heads to the diner.
All right. We'll end it there, but I will ask a clarifying question. Is this just play on future when you are there, or would you just like you're just gonna go and get the black cat and just get it back there so we can skip to the diner, or is Manny still like working on the black cat while you're in the diner, or was this?
No, I assume that we got the black cat and brought it to the. I mean, unless there's something going to happen there to prevent us from doing it.
Okay.
But we would pick up Manny because he's kind of our crew now. 'Cause
Yeah.
he can
Is he our crew, really? No.
Oh well.
Guys forgave
Well,
him.
it's not like any of you guys is like dark histories were told to the rest of the crew and stuff. You all got
Exactly.
secrets, dirty, dark secrets. But okay, I'm gonna end the broadcast here. Thanks for everybody for joining in and watching. And yeah, most likely next week we'll pick it up again from the
And
diner, most likely.
Tune in next time for another exciting issue of DC Adventures Midnight City. What will our heroes encounter next in the city of ever-living nightmares in black and white? Tune in to find out.